I feel like having this screen as the thing that starts the episode, I feel like I should have some sort of pun pertaining to the name of the next boss, but nope, I just boot my head on the letters, and now I am Tessellating Hexagons, confronting Metalhead in more classic Spyro the Dragon. Why am I doing a voice? And also, look, it's one of the rare occasions where Spyro doesn't do a fancy flip when he enters the level, because there are some levels that do that. Most of them, Spyro does like a fancy loop-de-loop in the air, and then he lands, and that's how the level starts. But in this case, we just sort of land here. And in the Japanese version, see, what is that they throw? Unless someone answered when I asked in the last episode, in which case, thank you, but I'm recording this straight after the last episode, even though the last episode is supposed to go up to, well, the day of recording this, because today's the 17th, and I need to edit it, and I haven't. I'm just sitting here playing Spyro. Because in the Japanese version, entering a level, I think it either fades to black and then just has Spyro in the starting position, or I don't know, there's a jump cut or something. It doesn't show him doing the loop-de-loop in the air, because, as we've established, the Japanese version is just overly sensitive about giving kids seizures. But then again, we had a similar sort of scandal with that one episode of the Pokemon anime with the Porygons and death. Well, not death, but seizures and epilepsy and all of that nonsense. And by nonsense, I mean it's not a thing people should have to live with, but some people do have to live with it. I'm not trying to belittle people with epilepsy. God, you have to be so careful on the internet these days. Hey. Yeah, I think, just to talk about the game for a second here. This is probably my favourite boss of this game. I don't know if that contradicts anything I've said so far, but I mean, Blowhard is kind of empty feeling as far as bosses go, because it's not that difficult. Dr. Shemp is the most boss-like, and credit where credit's due, but he's just not my favourite. And then Toasty, I had so much trouble with the sheepdogs that I've never been able to fully enjoy it as a boss level. But this one, I really like, because first of all, there's this little secret bit down here, which you might not even know exists, but I mean, sure enough, and there's little hidden extra life as well. So, this level rewards exploration, which I suppose is another rant I could get on, but I feel like it wouldn't win me too many fans. 169 gems. But, yeah, I like this level. I love the boss itself. I love the level around it, although the boss is kind of the highlight here. But there was a conversation I was having with SuperAlex641 yesterday, and this will have been quite a while ago by the time you see this video. But, a couple of days ago, they announced a whole load of stuff at E3 about, the new Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. And I seem to be one of the few people who isn't all that hyped about it, to be quite honest. That said, before anyone grabs their torches and pitchforks, I've not seen all that much. I've kind of been avoiding E3 this year, and I don't know why, because I know I'm going to be getting Pokemon Sun and Moon and Breath of the Wild, but I've just been not very care about the E3 presentations, and so admittedly, I'm not the most qualified to talk about them. But what I've seen of the new Zelda game, I'm not too jazzed about. Like, a lot of people are really hyped up, like, oh, it's this open world, this, that, and the other. Yeah, but to me it feels too much like it's trying to be a Nintendo version of an Elder Scrolls style game, and if I wanted an Elder Scrolls game, I'd just play an Elder Scrolls game, and I don't really like that as a series, so I never would. I'll continue this rant in a second. Sadiki!
This big robot is all charged up to meet you. Attacking the power pole should disrupt its power supply.
So, not to continue not talking about this game, but I fully expect to be completely wrong, and that these first impressions of mine are going to be completely false because I've been misinformed, that I've not been paying enough attention to the actual pre-release stuff. But it feels like they're trying to fix a problem that didn't exist, because people have been banging on about how, oh yeah, open world, this, that, and the other. Wait, what? Okay, so with this boss, you have to smash these metal pillars, and apparently Metalhead just smashed 3 of his own by himself, because Metalhead is in fact a giant robot with a Mohican by the look of it, or what the Americans call a Mohawk, but no, it's a Mohican. Well, at least that's what I was raised to call him. If that's a racial slur, I apologise. It's just I've never known it as anything by any other name, so I don't mean to be offensive if that's what it is. But so people for ages have been clamouring for, oh yes, open world Zelda. Like, why? Maybe it's just me. I was trying to puzzle this out with SuperAlex641. He was saying, oh, well, do you not get the urge to go and explore this expansive new world? And honestly, No, I don't. And I gave it some thought, and I realized that within myself, I'm only inclined to explore a game world. Well, I'm more inclined the more restricted a game world is. So, for example, these levels in Spyro, they're only so big that they're not completely unlimited. You can't go everywhere at once, and they do open up steadily as the game progresses, or that's more applicable to later Spyro games, but, like, for the moment, there are limits to this level, and I don't know, I just found that maybe it's just me. Well, bye, Felicia. Maybe it's just me, but the notion of a level being restricted in its size rather than being limitless and open, unbounded stuff. It feels like if the level size is limited, then everything, or almost everything that's there, has to be there for a given purpose. And that makes it all the more meaningful, especially when you find something that doesn't serve a purpose, but... when you find something that doesn't serve a purpose, like the hidden book in Super Mario Sunshine, it doesn't add anything, but it's such a rarity to see something that's just there for atmosphere, so it feels special. But in the case of open world games and stuff like the Elder Scrolls and whatever, it's too open world, in my opinion. I'm not going to say anyone's wrong for disagreeing with me, because, frankly, I welcome people having different opinions, I'm just giving my own. But, it just... If your levels are so... well, if they're not even levels, if you have a game world that's just so open that you have to manually clutter it with a capital C as a verb, and I can confirm, as part of the game development cycle, you do have to, when designing an open world area, you do have to fill it with clutter to make it feel legitimate and authentic. If you're having to do that in the first place, to me it feels like, I don't know, open world is just code for we were too lazy to give it a proper story, give you proper motivation to look around here, just have this world that, where everything kind of feels pointless. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I know this is a rant that I really shouldn't be going on, just to me it feels like if there's too much stuff that's not there for a reason, then I don't really care. Maybe that's just me being overly harsh. But on a much, much, much happier note, Cray, you so cray. Oh, that's slightly worrying, but the Dreamweavers world, the fifth homeworld of this game, my second favourite, only because the Magic Crafters world is a boss-ass bitch, and also because the Dreamweavers world isn't quite as fun to explore as the Magic Crafters world, but it's still pretty good, and got fairly fun music as well. But first of all, I could relate this back to the gimmick the rant I was just on, but enemies here, really big. There's a big metal enemy there that we can't charge, we can't flame either, and look, sometimes they shrink. And now we can charge you into oblivion. Also, we're in the sky, there's much scope for death here. Now, it didn't occur to me as a child. You saw there was that orange ray of light that changed the size of the enemies. It didn't occur to me that actually, it's being caused by that cannon on that central platform over there, and there's a small version of this enemy over here that's piloting it, and so he's following us around the level. I am out of your range, fuck off, good sir. But you see up there, the thing with the cannon, he's following us around the level and changing the size of the enemies. However, he's doing it completely at random. So if there's an enemy that's small, he'll make it bigger so we can't kill it. But then if it's already big, he'll make it smaller so that we can. So there's not really much strategy there. But yeah, Child Me didn't realise that... Also, I like how the whirlwinds are green in this world. That's something that Child Me appreciated. But as a child, I thought, oh, well, it's the world of dreams. It's the Dreamweavers world. Therefore, there's just this random ray from the sky that changes the size of enemies sometimes. And I sort of didn't question it. It didn't occur to me that there's a manual cannon that, yes, we can go and take control of once we get to that central platform. And so for a while, I would stand here, and I love these enemies, just... I could stare at them for ages, because they're just that funny. But yeah, I stood here for ages trying to get the cannon thing... Well, I didn't realise... I was trying to get this heavenly ray of light to zap those two enemies so that I could get up to that passageway. And, of course, it wouldn't happen, because those are the only enemies that are within range of the cannon that the enemy controlling the cannon will consciously never fire on. And so, for the moment, those two enemies are permanently stuck at their invincible large size. But once you get to the cannon manually and shrink them, and then kill them, whenever they respawn, they will automatically respawn at their smaller size, so they're easier to kill. You'll see what I mean later, right, when we come back to this homeworld after completing some levels, but you might not notice it if I hadn't pointed it out. But first, Durgan Latif! First Dreamweaver Dragon.
Welcome to the Dreamweavers, young one. While chasing Nasty's minions in this world, you must expect the unexpected and prepare for what is not there.
Strangely sound advice. So, I suppose to link back to the rant I was on before, even like this homeworld, I did say I would like it as much as the Magic Crafters, but it's not quite as fun to explore because there's this central hub area and a couple of side areas that branch off from it, and they do interconnect, and that is nice. But Magic Crafters felt like it rewarded exploring a little bit more. Maybe that's just me. And oh look, here's the boss portal already, and his name is Jacques, which is fun. Now, do we have the... Yeah, I don't even know why I was about to check. We do have enough gems to get to the next homeworld, because you need 6,000 gems to access the next homeworld, and we have over 7,000 at this point. So, even though I was criticizing this homeworld for not being quite as exploration-heavy as my all-time favourite, I do still enjoy exploring it, even though it's not big, it's not open world. Well, it is open world within its own constraints, but it's not unconstrained, and yet I enjoy exploring it more because everything's here for an adequate reason. You don't need to add extra random arbitrary clutter to make it feel like a level, because it already feels like a level. Also, those whirlwind platforms, I can't describe what I want to say about them, but I'll refer back to it in a moment, just because I have a point to make about them, but you'd have to see them to fully understand it. And so we'll shrink those two enemies down, and also this one over here so that we can kill it. And yes, the laser does home just a little bit. But before I do anything else, another dragon! Hello to you, Zikomo!
Hello, Spyro. Nicely done. I'll be done when I've toasted that nasty Nork.
Spyro, you didn't have to consciously choose to misinterpret what he said to make a point. That does annoy me when people do that. Like, when you say something like nicely done, and then people choose to misinterpret the context of the word done. That's maybe just something that I would obsess over too much, but... I'll talk about the whirlwind platforms when next we see them. I think there are some through this passageway here anyway. Passage. I'm such a child. Now, something that you might easily miss. There's a little passageway here. Passage? No one says passage. There are 2 5 gems here. Very easy to miss. I didn't miss them as a child, but I did miss them on my low percent run for some reason when I went back to pick... When I stopped needing it to be a low percent run. Those 10 gems eluded me for the longest of times. Now, these whirlwind platforms here, the tops of them, the way they dip inwards like that, they look like a certain type of sweet here in the UK. By the way, these enemies can't be defeated. They just turn into clocks, and that affects the landscape. But we'll see them in more detail in a little while. But they look like a certain type of sweet, and I'll put a picture on screen of it now if I can find one. Just, they've always reminded me of those, because they even have the right sort of pastel-y colours to them as well, and they're very pretty colour. Anyway, another dragon, who will explain the fools, I believe. Muzzy, hello to you.
The fools you see in this world are invincible, but that does not mean they shouldn't be attacked.
Sounds alright to me.
So, that's kind of a gimmick with the Magic Crafters world. Although, no, not the Magic Crafters, the Dreamweavers. I get them mixed up because they're both so dreamlike and magical, so Dreamweavers, Magic Crafters, well, anyway, I get them right in my head, it's just when I try to say them out loud I get them mixed up. But those fool enemies, as they're called, they can't be defeated by any means, but if you attack them, they'll temporarily turn into clocks, or, well, through this portal here, they behave slightly differently, but they appear in that level there, Dark Passage, and they behave slightly differently there, but here, the way they behave, and also, there's at least one level in this homeworld that has them as well. But when you attack them, they turn into clocks, and that they behave sort of like manually controllable druids from the Magic Crafters world. They'll change part of the layout of the world, although the difference here is, rather than arbitrarily affecting a bit of the geography, you can tell what they're going to affect. In this case, there are these platforms that have these spinning textures on them. In this case, there are 2 fools here, and it doesn't matter the order that you attack them in. The first one will always raise this, if I can actually have it on screen. The first one will always raise that first platform, and then the second one will always raise the second. It doesn't matter which one you hit. No, you fucked my strategy. What I like to do with these fools is attack the first one so the first platform goes up, and then attack the second one so that I can get on it as it goes up rather than having to bother with the platforming puzzle associated with it, because it gives you just enough time to do the thing. Also, I like how the fool's hands are like they grow this bell on their head. Stop charging into things, you fuck! A few inches later. You're there. There we go. That's the way of cheesing. I wanted to show off how to cheese that puzzle because it gives you just enough time to... You're supposed to jump on that platform there, and then the first one, then the second one, and then get up here. And at this point, it would have been quicker if I'd just done that, but I want to show off how you cheese it. Also, this little island here, just this specific one, reminds me of Angel Island as it's depicted in the first Sonic Adventure game. I don't know why, it's just because of the shape of it, because in Sonic Adventure 1, Angel Island kind of looks like a tooth. And then this island here, this one, this dark green one, sort of looks like a caricature of that. Now, please tell me that we have all of the gems, because, once again, I don't want to be told that I've been a failure. Yes. And we have here the flight level, Icy Flight, which is my favourite in the game, and because it has the best music. And we're going to start with this, because it has the best music and for no other reason. So, I'll just let you listen to it. It's really good. So maybe that was a slight excuse for me just to focus on what I'm doing for a second. Now, admittedly, I don't know what the best route through here is. We have these lighthouses, we have chests, we have trains, and we have helicopters as well. But we haven't run into the area where those are just yet. But I figured I might as well get both the golden items because they're right next to each other. There's the chests here and the lighthouses here, and I believe the last chest is on the inside arc of here? No? Ah, bugger, where did I... Wait, where's the... Ah! Okay, I think... Oh, nope, Spyro, do the... Ah! This is gonna be one hell of a clutch play if I manage to do it. I'm not gonna do it, am I? Oh, you don't get supercharged in this game. Well, eggs and bacon, I was mistaken. Oh, the clutch plays, they are so real. Really riding the pancake here, and nope, I fucked up. Well, that's what happens when you run out of time anyway. But I like this level too much to be salty about it. So, maybe if I go for the chests on the first pass... Get me strategizing on the fly. But this is, far and away, my favourite flight level. Just, even though it's not that easy, and it's... I don't know, it's one of the easiest to find, though, because it's at this point where the flight levels are still pretty out of the way, as, you know, as the portals go within each homeworld. But it's still, it's still out of the way, but it's not as hidden as the others. You still have to work for it. But it has really good music, it's a fun challenge, it's an acceptable challenge. Whereas Sunny Flight, if you fuck that, the first homeworld we're talking about here, Sunny Flight, if you fuck that up, there is no mercy. But this one, I feel like, if I mess it up, then it is kind of my own doing, and I've now learned that, yes, despite what I was saying before, you can't supercharge in these levels, that's only in later games. And here's that bridge we just... there. Didn't realise just how much of a U-bend that first area is. So the helicopters, they go up and down above these little circles of land. There are, I think, 3 in this room and 5 in the other room. Yeah, sure enough. And barrels, as always, there's no way of getting just one. If you kill a train, that automatically gets both of the barrels on it. No, don't be miss. No, get your ass back here. Get your back ass here. As opposed to your front ass. Now that reminds me of a thing. And I remember discussing it with my mother recently. Aye. I guess I'll just cut back in here. Although I am slightly offended that... I swear, I hit at least 2 of those helicopters on my last run, and somehow that apparently missed both of them. But yeah, I remember when I was younger, when I lived in the Midlands of this country, because I swear, I've lived all over this country, for fuck's sake. But when I lived in the Midlands, I lived in a town called Rugby, which purports to be the home of rugby the sport, but I'm not convinced. Well, it could be, I don't know. But there's a leisure centre there, there's a swimming pool, so if anyone lives there, please confirm. But when I was younger, there was... Well, at the swimming pool there was a water slide, and it wasn't heated, it was cold as fuck. I only tried it once, and it was a very unpleasant experience, because you'd get on the water slide, it would be freezing, it would go outside, and they didn't, it started inside, looped the loop outside, and then came back inside. And it was cold. They had jets of water that were also cold, and yeah. Anyway, there was a sign on that slide that had, warnings saying, don't do this, do that, because you might hurt otherwise. Yeah, you might get hurt if you don't slide safely, something to that effect. And I remember one of the signs saying something about, you have to go down with your back foot first. I don't remember the exact wording, but I remember the phrase, back foot first. And I've hypothesized maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it was go down on your back, comma, feet first, or foot first. Well, you wouldn't say foot first, you'd say feet first. I don't know, perhaps I'm misremembering, but could someone please explain what a back foot is? Because, I mean, if you're leading with your back foot, that would make it your front foot. But enough weird ramblings. This has been a very strange episode overall anyway. So, I have been and will continue to be Tessellating Hexagons, and in the next episode we're going to take on Dark Passage. We will have more shenanigans with fools, and also me, because self-effacing humour about being a fool, question mark? I don't know. In any case, I'll see you next time, and look at that skybox, we're in for a good time, I'm sure. See you then.